What is going on, guys? We're back for Contender series. Pierce, did we do one of these last week?
No, we did not. You were in Vegas rolling with Patchy Mix and chasing a wife, but here we are this week.
Chasing a wife. That's funny. No, 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 no. Here we are again. I just had some shit going on in life. It's been a wild ride. I have to admit today I don't have. So this is kind of like the cherry on top. You know how like everything, like when it rains, it pours, and you just got all kinds of shit going on in your life, and then it just keeps getting worse and worse. Today I realize I'm on my last pack of contacts. I have single day contacts, and I only have like 4 days left, and it takes like a week to get here. So I have to like schedule a new eye appointment, get the eye exam, wait for them. So I'm gonna be recycling 1 day contacts for the next like 2 weeks. And if
Sounds
I
like
wear
problems I don't
glasses,
have.
yeah, if I wear glasses, right, it reflects off with the ring
Yeah,
light.
don't do that.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna squint the whole time. I need to take a page out of Gamrot's book. Apparently, what's funny is I said that on the podcast. I was like, what a fucking nerd. He's got the glasses on. And then everyone corrects me and they go, no, no, no. He got LASIK and he won. So like I see what it's done for other people. It's my turn.
Dude, you know what's I'm sure you've heard this before, but a crazy story that stands out to me. So Charles Oliveira, apparently his vision is like god awful, like he can't like do anything without his glasses, but he said whenever he fights, his vision becomes crystal clear and he doesn't have to wear contacts or anything before a fight, which I find fascinating, but
That's a
it's a little
Jesus thing
tidbit.
right there.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah, I don't buy it. Whatever. He's always been my favorite fighter, though. You always see him looking cross-eyed in there. He's, what's going on? He just doesn't have an idea. All right. Well, we have a contender series. I like this week. You like this week? How you feeling about this week? Not from a gambling angle, just from an entertainment angle.
Last week I thought it was gonna be a little less climactic than it was, but the last week delivered. But on paper, this week I see a lot of violence and it's a lot of great matchups, man. I can't. There's a couple of these fights where I don't see how they're not gonna be entertaining, but I also like some betting spots too outside of the entertainment aspect. So it's gonna be a fun card.
I can barely see you, but you look kind of cleaned up. You cleaned up a little bit. You got a little facial hair stuff going
Hey, bro, we gotta go to the barber every week, man. Stay fresh.
every week. Oh shit! All right, dude. My barber is so gangster. This is funny. My barber doesn't listen to the podcast, but the barber that sent me to him listens to the podcast. He's part of the Discord. He sent me there because I was going like 45 minutes to get my hair cut, right? And cuts were awesome. It was worth the drive every time. But eventually, I'm just like, I'm letting 4 or 5 weeks go by before I get a haircut. I don't want to drive 45 minutes. And so he goes, hey, I have a friend, the guy who actually taught me everything that I know. He's right here. Dude, I'm not kidding when I say this. He's like walking distance from my house. So I was driving 45 minutes to get a cut. This other guy is walking distance from my house, right?
Dude,
And
that's
the first,
funny because I drive 45 minutes for my barber. The only reason because I'm
oh,
in Charlotte right now. Last barber I had that was like 2 minutes away. The dude was eating Funyuns with a razor blade in one hand and a bag of Funyuns in the other. And that's when I said, you know what, we got to take the drive. But
yeah,
funny
but I
ass
mean, there's
story.
probably a million places in between. You know what I mean? Like, I had the autistic barber for a while that would try to like talk to me, and then I used to talk about it on the podcast. I'd just be like, "Hey, listen, man, today can we just not talk?" Because he would always go, "Dude, you're a superstar, man. You're a legend," and like nothing makes me feel more uncomfortable than someone just like saying nice things to me randomly when I don't deserve them. It was creepy. So I go, man, and I get the best haircut, like one of the best haircuts of my life. Like styles my hair just right, everything looks perfect. But he's really rough with me. Like he's grabbing my face and moving me. He's like Uzbeki or something, like one of those like Russian countries, right? And he's just really rough. Love it. Then I go back the second time. He's like 2 hours late. I'm sitting in the chair. He gets me in the chair for 10 minutes, and it was like one of the worst cuts of my life. So I got the best and the worst cuts of my life from the same barber within the span of a month. And then so I go in this last time and it's like somewhere in between. So I just haven't had this range of a barber before. I've had really good and really bad, but having this kind of range is it's insane.
So the summary is you like to get groped by your barber.
Oh, dude. A barber's like going to the barbershop is one of the gayest things a man can do. It's us getting pampered, someone cutting our little hairs. I fall asleep, man. If I get a good haircut, I'm out. I'm out. You touch my head, it's on, you know? Like not in a gay way, but maybe.
We're just
Whatever
going to
happens
leave it
after
at
I'm
that.
sleeping. Yeah, whatever happens after I'm sleeping happens. All right, guys, let's get into Contender series. I'll kick this off. So, full disclosure, my brain was a little melted today. So I kind of did the cliff notes. I watched a little bit of film of each one. So I'm going to defer to you on most of these for in depth. And if I say anything that's wrong or not hitting it just right, please feel free to correct me, okay? Because I just did kind of a brief overview of each. So we're
Well,
going to
that's a
start off
good
at
thing. No, go
What's
ahead. I
that?
was just gonna say that's a good thing because I deep dived this all day Friday, so hopefully it goes well.
I saw you. See, this was a tough week, man. Because what do we have? We had 21 fight Bellator, 25 Bellator, UFC, Fury, LFA, bare knuckle, and there's only one of me. Like I don't hire people out to watch film for me, and I don't just pretend I'm watching film. So like. To get all these events done, and you know me, I like bare knuckle the best. For me, that's the bread and butter right there. So we did pretty well on bare knuckle. We were one disqualification away and a Chris Camozzi win from, dude, I was going to make six figures this week if Trujillo didn't get disqualified and Camozzi won. So close. Um, but nonetheless, I threw some shit out and I was just like, guys, this is the path to financial freedom. And I think it missed by like one or two picks. It was 150K for like $40 or something.
Dude, the worst is when you have the people that they only tail like the 20 leg parlays and they get mad at you if it doesn't hit.
Yeah, I can give you like six guys in a row that win easily in all first round knockouts. And then, yeah, you do the 20 legs. And it's like, what the fuck, man? You don't hit anything. All right. So let's kick it off with Vinicius, Oliveira, and Victor Hugo Madrigal. I know you're pretty passionate about this one. You want to go first on this?
No, I actually would like to hear what you have to say first. It's hard to really be passionate at the current price tag right now, but this is my favorite fight.
And I was going to agree with that. So I actually read a little bit of Santino's write-ups too. So I actually asked Santino if he wanted to do the pod tonight, and he said no. He said he wanted to leave his analysis just for the people on the Patreon and then let us do the content here. But it was good to kind of compare his notes to my notes. I love comparing just to see where we're at. All right, let's get into it. So Vinicius, he reminds me of who's the dude you bet the other day? The John Paul Silva. Is that what his name?
Gene Silva from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, Gene Silva. He reminds me a lot of Gene Silva in the fact that he is not really crazy technical, but he's a brute. He's really, really aggressive and aggro, and he hits like a fucking truck. That's kind of how he reminds me of, and I don't know if that's a similar comparison in a way.
I feel like that's a bit disrespectful to Vinicius, but especially
he's a little more technical.
Yeah.
No, he's a little more technical, a little bit, but he's still chin up. He swings really wild. He keeps his hands down for a lot. What I'm saying is there's a lot of his game that I don't like, right? And even Santino's breakdown was he does everything wrong, but he has a style that makes it work for himself. And that was similar to Silva from a few weeks ago, right? And Silva actually ended up looking a lot better in the Contender Series fight than he ever did on tape. Not even close. Yeah, he hits hard and he's got a style that really works for him. So the biggest thing that I'm seeing in this fight is going to be the physicality. The one thing I didn't like with Madrigal, so to me, he almost reminds me of like a Peruvian fighter, right? That kind of style where it's like really fast paced and it's in your face and, you know, just good cardio and pressing the whole time. It's kind of that like Peruvian style. I know he's Mexican. I get it. But on paper, I would love to take that guy, right? If he had just a crazy granite chin and he was going to stay in his face, in Vinicius' face the entire time, I would love to pick Madrigal. The thing is, I think the physicality is going to be a big, big issue for him here. I think that Vinicius is too strong for him, and he will hold his ground, and he's willing to move forward. He's not going to get backed up the entire fight. That plus Madrigal doesn't always fill the space by throwing, right? A lot of times when he's standing there, he is just standing there. And he's still walking forward without really throwing any punches. And, you know, if I've learned anything from Santino over the years, that's like the number one thing. If you're going to be pressing, you have to be throwing. It has to be a jab, a body shot. You have to be throwing something and filling that space. Otherwise, what happens is they plant that foot and they crack you, right? And it's wraps. I think that physicality and I think that power is going to be the biggest difference here. Vinicius has enough skills on the ground. He's got enough skills everywhere else. The biggest concern, I guess, would be the cardio, right? Where he looks like he's dead tired and he's huffing and puffing. But Tino made a good point too, is that he just kind of pushes through whatever tired that he is. It's weird because I saw, you know, the most recent fight, he was like dead tired in 2 minutes. And the fight before that, he was like, you know, into the third round going crazy and he was still, you know, pushing a pace. So where is his cardio really, or is he just messing with us? Because he does like to mess around. You know, this price tag is a little out of hand for my like. He's minus 370, but I think a knockout prop is going to do it just right because that Mexican dude does get hit a lot. We've seen him get rocked and chinned by guys that are much less powerful and much less talented. So that's a really long-winded answer for me to say that I like Vinicius here, and when the props come out, I'm going to go with a knockout.
Dude, were you paying attention to the Discord this morning? Did you see what he opened at?
Yeah, tell us again what he opened at.
Plus 215. That's right, plus 215. And lucky enough, I just woke up. It was around 8 a.m. my time, and early bird gets the worm, as they say. But
sometimes I do the big bird, dude. I was okay. This is just a small anecdote. I went to breakfast the other day, and I've been running and lifting and training, since I lost my job. What else is there else to do, And so I went to breakfast one day, and I got my favorite meal. It's called the Big Gooey Scramble Mess, just like eggs and potatoes. And every time I go, I put like hot sauce all over it. I used almost a whole bottle of hot sauce. Dude, my stomach has been fucked for like a week now. I've been waking up every 2 hours around the clock, just like shitting my brains out. It's been insane. So I woke up today because my stomach hurt and I had to go to the bathroom. And then I saw those lines drop and I was like, dude, I'm so tired from, just from like waking up every 2 hours that I went back to sleep. And then I wake back up and I see your little bitch ass get all the good numbers. Like, man, I should have just stayed awake.
I didn't know if you had to add in the little hot sauce tidbit too, but I get back to the fight. We got Loke Dog versus Victor Madrigal. And I feel like you put it pretty well. It's minus 370 right now. Wouldn't say that's overpriced. I think it's accurate, honestly. When I look at this matchup, the only reason being it's like Victor, he's 33 years old. He lacks a lot of the physicality that Vinicius presents, and it's just like Vinicius, he's in the prime of his career. He's honestly probably hasn't even entered the prime. He's 27 years old, and he's got 21 pro fights, and it's like the dudes he are fighting. It's the dudes he is fighting is in UAE Warriors, and this is like, it's not like he's fighting cans on the Brazilian regional scene. He's fighting the best of the best. And for those of y'all that haven't watched it, I linked it in the Discord, but please watch Vinicius Oliveira versus Ali Taleb. That's one of the best regional fights that I've ever watched. And Vinicius lost that fight, but Ali Taleb, he's like a future UFC guy. He's actually in PFL this weekend, so maybe we can bet on him too. But my thing with Vinicius is, you said it right. He swings from the hips. He can't come off as a bad KO waiting to happen, which is funny because we've seen him finish by knockout in, I think, his 3 losses. It was Christian Quinones, who's in the UFC. He got dropped really bad, but it was actually a doctor stoppage. So he didn't actually get officially knocked out. And then against Ali Taleb, he got slept. So that is a worry. He has been chinned before, but when you look at Victor, it's like, I don't think he's the guy that's going to chin him. We've seen Victor. He's got a nice right hand. That's probably his best weapon on the feet is the right hand. He's hit a couple pole counters, but the thing with Victor is he comes off as like an ass puller. He's normally either losing or...
I'm sorry, what?
An ass puller. Like he pulls shit out of his ass.
Oh, I haven't heard it used that way. An ass puller. Okay.
That's basically, he's either losing or he's not looking good, and then it's like he memes a finish or finds a reversal. I don't think he's bad because he's fighting good guys on Budo. I mean, he beat Jose Quinones, Teco Quinones, but he was getting touched up a little bit in that fight. It was like a 50-50 fight, and it's funny enough.
I don't even think it was 50-50. He was losing that fight until he wasn't losing.
I was trying to be generous, but funny enough, He actually beat both the Quinones brothers. He beat Christian a couple years back. If you remember that fight where Christian had the arm bar and his arm was getting pulled back Christian's and he didn't tap, I don't understand that at all. But dude, that was crazy to watch. But Victor, he owns the Quinones household. But outside of that, I mean, we've seen him knocked out himself. I mean, Marcelo Rojo a couple years ago, he did floor him really bad. So Vinicius could find the knockout here. I think that's definitely a possibility because when you look at Victor, he's kind of just standing there. I mean, I don't think he's like the most athletic guy. He's not going to have the best footwork. It seems like a tailor-made matchup in a sense for Vinicius.
We know who they want to win here, clearly.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. One of the guys 33 years old. The other guy's 27. And if you watch his fights...
Say it one more time. That's the prime of the career, right?
He's 27 years old. That's the prime of the career when the Cage Series champion goes pro. But,
Let's go.
But yeah, I'm talking a lot for what I'm trying to say is that Vinicius is probably more athletic, more well-rounded, as long as he doesn't get knocked out. That's the only way I think Victor wins.
Here's the issue with him. Yeah, most knockouts come when you're trying to knock someone the fuck out. That's just like that's what it is, and that's what we saw with him. He was trying to knock Ali's head into the seventh row, and then he got chinned. It just is what it is. It's because it's the shots you don't see coming. So I guess this is the best way to put it. The only one that's standing in his way is him. If he fights a smart fight, not going to be a close fight. Um, but if he goes ape shit and gasses himself out, that's his problem. If he goes in trying to get the kill and then he gets killed, that's his problem. I think the only person standing in the way of him is him.
Yeah, I don't even think he has bad cardio. He went to decision with this Ulu guy, and he was having his best moments later in the fight. And I will add,
he just DDPs it where he looks like he's exhausted, but he's still pushing.
I will say, I know Victor hit some reversals and some cheeky guard subs off his back, but Vinicius could have a grappling path as well. So I wouldn't say submission because he does go for ground and pound a lot, but I like the KO look. I just worry it's going to be minus money, but maybe look at the unders, I guess. I don't know if they're not going to do 2.5, but if they did do 2.5, smash the under there. But yeah, unders, violence, and Vinicius ITD most likely.
All right. Next up, we have the most anticipated fight of the night. I cannot actually wait for this one. We have Ernesta. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. Kara Bukaki versus Carli Judice. Carli Judice? Is that how I say?
Yeah, you're asking me how to say the last one instead of the first one.
Yeah, because you know what? We've been doing this show for years now. We're coming up on 2 years, and I think in November it's been 2 years. And people have always given Santino shit for the way that he pronounces names, and I don't even try to pronounce them or pretend that I know how to say them. And no one said a word to me. They always make fun of Santino for it, and I literally would just start mumbling some more. I mean, I just said Kara Bukaki, like that's clearly not her name. And no one's gonna say shit. It's just gonna be whatever,
Maybe the people only care what Santino has to say.
Maybe that's true. Hey, makes it a lot easier for me. I could just get on and talk some shit. All right.
Yeah, do you want me to go first on this one, or you got it?
It's up to you. I can go first again if you want. I can give my quick. It's gonna be quick thoughts. Or you can go. It's up to you.
Yeah, I'm not passionate at all, so I'll just go first. So we got Carli, who's filling in on short notice in this matchup versus Ernesta. I'm gonna call her Ernesta, but Ernesta was actually supposed to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov's his sister was supposed to be the one fighting Ernesta. So essentially, she was being brought in to lose, and I feel like I wouldn't say she's necessarily being brought in to lose with Carli here. I just don't. I think the UFC saw what I saw. I just don't rate her that well. She comes from like a kickboxing background, allegedly. I don't know what her credentials are, but when I look at Ernesta, what's her best aspect of her game? It's her height. I don't know the exact size. I want to say 5'9". Yeah, she's a 5'9" flyweight.
Yeah, it's 5'9".
So that's a good frame for flyweight. But when I look at her fight, it's like I don't think she does a good job using it. It's a lot of like her just spamming 1-2s and just throwing a teep kick. That's mainly her offense on the feet, which is just 1-2s and front kicks. And we saw she has fought like decent girls. The Katie Bashik girl, she's in Cage Warrior. She's not the worst, but a lot of her fights she gets taken down, and that's probably a hole in her game. But I don't think Carli's going to be the girl to take her down. When you look at Carli, she's a good striker. She's out of Head Kicks MMA, which is I believe that's where Andrea Lee trains, Matt Schnell, and a couple of like the Southwestern people. But
there's a dude that we bet on bare knuckle that is from there too, and she strikes very similar to him. I'm gonna look it up while you're talking.
Yeah, I have no clue who he's talking about. But when you look at Carli, yeah, she's still green. I think she's like 24. Yeah, she's 24 years old. She only has 3 pro fights, but she is filling in short notice, so it's not necessarily the girl that they wanted on the show. But when you look at her game, she's got good striking. She does train at Head Kicks MMA, which is funny because that's like her favorite move is the head kick. I don't know how that's going to work here because Carli's probably going to be a lot smaller than this girl, shorter. I don't know if they have a height on Carli, but keep an eye on the face-offs because I think, they don't have a height on Tapology, but Carli's probably going to be a couple inches smaller. And that'll be interesting how she approaches the range in this fight. But when you look at the striking, she's cleaner everywhere, in my opinion. Grappling, Carli doesn't really show that, but I've seen her go hard 15 on the amateur scene. She's gone 5 3-minute rounds on the amateur scene. So I know she's got the cardio to go 5 rounds. Yeah, sometimes she does fight close. The price is like minus 170, minus 200 now. I wouldn't necessarily force a bet at that spot. I did get her the pick'em opener on Carli. I thought that was fair. I just think she has to be the favorite just because she seems like she knows how to strike. She knows how to cut angles and has better technique. Where Ernesta, she's big. but she doesn't really know how to use her size. So I think Ernesta's the fade here, but maybe Carli KO. That's probably could be a sneaky prop to play. I just wouldn't go too overexposed on her money line because she is kind of green in her career.
Man, the KO play is going to be tough, and I see the outlook for it, right? And obviously, she has all knockouts on her record. But this girl, the one thing that she does do, so I do want to talk about that because the announcers, and this is what was confusing to me when in her last fight, what is it, Soda or whatever she fought? What's the girl's name?
Latita Blot? Or are you talking about
Blot.
Carli?
Yeah, no, you're right. Blot. I knew it was some 4-letter word. I just couldn't remember. So she fought Blot. Didn't she fight Blot 2 times?
Twice. Yeah, those were both close fights. Could have gone either way.
Yeah, and Blot is like tiny and kind of shitty. She's like shitty. Like it's weird. And she just struggled with her so much. And I remember the announcers, they were like, yeah, she's working on her boxing. But really the striking is just a means to an end for her to get these things to the mat. And I'm thinking like, so what is this girl good at? Because she can't wrestle. She's not that good on the ground, right? She was on her back the entire first round of that second fight, that most recent fight. She wasn't throwing up submissions, and she's horrible at striking. So what is she even good at? Like, I don't understand. I don't get what she's good at. So then I went back. Like I said, I just did kind of a quick overview, and I'm like watching this. It's never good when you're watching Contender Series and the person that's like getting their ass kicked is the one that's going to be fighting on Contender. It's so weird. And they somehow win. But I guess that other week we saw that with that Brazilian dude that was a huge underdog, and then he ended up winning. So I went back and I watched her fight against Bakic. She looked a lot better in that one. So to me in that fight, you could kind of tell her kickboxing background. And the reason that I say that, she was doing something actually we were working on last week. The second you get touched, you're firing back with a low kick. Every single time that she would get touched, her reaction immediately was to fire back with a low kick and then followed up with strikes. To me, her striking looked infinitely better in that fight than it did immediately in the fight right after that, which was a little bit crazy. It's like she's regressing or she's nervous about what that girl's bringing to the table. Yeah, I don't know. And when I'm watching this, I'm going, okay, one girl is way better than the other. Just skill for skill, like clean punches, combinations, movement, head movement, everything. Judice is a million times better than her. But the reason that I would say avoid knockout is because a lot of times what Ernesta does is she just like hangs. She's like falling forward as she's throwing, and then she just kind of grabs on. And I could see anytime that Judice gets close to a KO, she just grabs on and she's forcing you out of the clinch and forcing a reset, and it's just going to give her enough time to like survive. My martial artist heart tells me that Judice is going to win this easy because she is just so much technically better. Combinations, right? She's from Mississippi. Come on, it's the best MMA state in the world. But man, that height is tough for girls sometimes. It's tough for them to get a read on. And Ernesta has flashes where she does look really good to me, and then flashes where she just like, what even is she? She does nothing. She is nothing. So I'll go with Judice. Honestly, minus 200 is a tough price for me to pay on this one. So I'd have to wait for like one of those DraftKings, like maybe Judice and over a round and a half or something like that for me to be able to play this. But yeah, I like Judice for the win. I think she's technically just better everywhere, but I could see this being a sloppy, close fight in a weird way. All right, you man of many words tonight. All right, so is that all of our thoughts on that one? We're good with this one?
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to talk about here. Price.
I said I'm gonna do a short one, and then I just did like this whole like freaking monologue, crazy. All right, this one I'm actually probably gonna sit out of this one. So I'll touch on it a little bit. Danny Silva versus Angel Pacheco. We know Danny Silva pretty well, right? From is it Cage Warriors or for LFA that was in California?
He's been an LFA guy.
Yeah. Okay, so he fought Kanan Kawhi, Elijah Leggett. We actually sent our buddy Omar to that LFA because it was the unstreamed prelims back when we were trying to like pass post all the books. And we watched that Elijah Leggett fight, and that was a really impressive win. I thought Leggett was going to win that fight. Danny looked really good, right? His base is boxing. He's like one of those boxer wrestler kind of guys, and I really like his style. He's in your face. He's aggressive. He's got really sharp, clean striking. Basically, the way I'm going to put this is Danny Silva is the guy, right? I think he's a CSW guy. Is that right?
Yeah, he trains with like Cub Swanson and I
Okay,
think
in
Victor
India.
Henry as well. I'm not sure about
Yeah.
that last
Okay.
one.
So he's kind of cross training CSW and CMMA and stuff like that. So I like him a lot. I like his game. I think he's a solid guy. I don't think he's a world beater by any means. But the way that I look at this is CFFC brought in Angel Pacheco to lose to Vilson
Filson.
Negroni.
Yeah.
Yeah. They brought him in to lose, and he ended up winning because Vilson's got amazing skills, but he's got an awful chin. Um, I don't see this fight really being that different. I think Danny Silva's got sharper boxing, cleaner jab. He's got good cardio. Like he checks all the boxes. He does everything good. Nothing phenomenal, but everything good. Pacheco's fine, but he was brought in as a can to lose to the guy that they, wanted to win. So now he's on Contender Series. Good for him. It could still be a close fight. Pacheco does a lot of stuff. Like he'll press action. He does swing. I think he's a little bit sloppy. And I don't know. I just think Danny's sharper everywhere. So I think Danny's going to win this fight fairly convincingly.
Yeah, I mean, you said he was brought in to lose to Wilson. He damn near almost did. He got dropped really
Yeah.
bad in the first round. But I don't know. Did you get the vibe that like Wilson gassed out a little bit from chasing the finish? Because that's what it seemed like to me.
He
Because
always gasses out. That's the thing. He's got bad chin and bad cardio, but his actual skills are like phenomenal. He's so good.
yeah, that's a good win. But like you put, he's I think he's being brought in to lose here. While I do think Angel's not a bad fighter, he actually before I get into him, I'll add he is living with Tyson Chartier for this camp. So I guess that's the connection
Oh.
on how he got in. He's been living with Tyson for the past couple weeks. He's training with the New England Cartel, but normally doesn't train there full time. It's just for this camp. He trained actually with a lot of the guys on that LFA card last weekend. Start BJJ with your boy Derek Benoit. Yeah,
Funny.
so but with Angel, I my big concern with him is he lacks a lot of like athleticism. He does seem like a smart fighter. Like when you watch him fight, you can tell he like mentally knows what he's doing. He's like trying to set up shots perfectly and he's trying to use his IQ to win fights. I mean, we've seen in the I forget which fight it was. It was yeah, he fought this Zach Schroeder dude twice back to back. I don't know why he did that, but yeah, I mean, he finished that dude in the first round. Pretty easy fights there. But in the Wilson fight, he did get dropped early, but I think he did a good job of breaking Wilson down the stretch. He kind of stayed in his face and broke him with the jab. And the issue with that is that's kind of Danny's game too. He stays in your face as well. And Danny's not, I don't know if Danny's going to go anywhere because I guess people will say Danny, he gets hit a lot. That's probably the one part of his game that I don't like the most is his striking defense, but that's kind of his style, man. He likes to get in dogfights. I mean, if you watch like I watched like most of his fights from amateur to his last pro fight, it's literally not in a boring fight. And the Cannon Kauai fight, I thought he could have won that fight.
No,
Like
come on. He didn't win that fight. That
it,
that one was a very clear 2 rounds to one for Kanan, but the one round that he did win was the most clear round of all of them.
I mean, it was a close fight where it's just control over damage, but I'm not saying it's a robbery at all. It was just a close fight. And Cannon, I mean, we know Cannon. He's not the worst guy in the world, but he
No,
used a
he's
lot.
very, very talented for like a round and a half. He is very good.
But he used a lot of like the grappling to win that fight. And the thing with Angel is I think he is a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I was listening to an interview with him. He says he prefers to stand. And basically what he was insinuating that he's going to strike with Danny. And I just don't think that's a good idea because you have to favor Danny to win the fight off of like pressure and volume. I feel like that's just the main thing that's going to separate Danny is that he's not going to go anywhere. And I don't think Angel's a big power puncher to the point where Danny might get knocked out. We haven't seen Danny really his durability tested. I don't think he's been hurt at all. And that Elijah Leggett fight really sold it for me, man. Elijah is
Yeah,
a
Leggett
tough
was
guy.
tagging him a little bit.
But Leggett, I mean, he's a game fighter. I know he lost recently in Cage Warriors to John DeJesus, but the dude's he's as game as they come as a boxer. And if he's eating big shots from Elijah Leggett, I don't think Pacheco's going to be the one to find his chin. So I feel like Danny's going to take over down the stretch. I like how he builds as fights go. Just don't get knocked out, Danny. And I think it's a good fight for him. I bet him actually at minus 155. It's minus 200 right now. I lined him in my notes. I put him at like minus 225, minus 250. So maybe don't play him straight, but I don't think he's a half bad parlay piece, man. I think he's going to break Angel, but maybe KO. See what the KO number is because I think we see Angel. He got caught from I think it was a right hook on Wilson. He is hittable when he goes for a strike, so he's there to be countered. And Danny Danny's going to stay in his face. So maybe the KO
When you
materializes.
break these down, do you always list what you think they should be?
I've started doing that recently with Contender series. Pierce the book. He's been pretty accurate with some of these lines.
Yeah, yeah. It's good test of kind of what you're thinking and what you're saying. Honestly, right? It's kind of good. I know you used to ask me, like, what would you cap this as? Like, what the hell are you saying to me? But you used to ask me that for bare knuckle all the time. And I think it was probably funny. You would think that I was like crazy for saying some of the stuff that I did. And it would open like 10 cents away from where I said. And I'd be like, there you go. I told you. Actually, I was surprised last week where a lot of the lines opened. They were a little different than what I would have expected them to be. All right. Moving on. That's a good strategy. I like that, man. Before the lines come out, or even if the lines are out and you're just doing your own research before you start looking at the lines, what you would line them at.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people, they tape fights and they already know what the odds are going to be. So they have like this preconceived belief on what's going to happen. And it's like, especially before odds come out, you make your own odds and then see how the books align it. And
Okay.
I put,
sorry, go ahead.
I'll put Vinicius, like I said, I would line him like minus 300. And when he opened plus 215, bro, I thought it was Christmas morning when I woke up today.
Well, it's not even that. You sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes if I do that, I'm like, okay, this guy is going to open a massive, massive favorite, and then the books have it flipped. I think that there's something that I missed. I like when I see something like that, I don't always go, oh boy, this is good stuff. I go, what the hell did I miss? What am I not seeing that they're seeing here? That's the part that always kind of kills me.
Crush your balls.
Yeah, I guess. All right, Clint. And by the way, Clint asked me for bare knuckle picks every week. The dude never sent me a $5 coffee gift card. He never sends me anything. Every week he goes, can I bum some bare knuckle picks? And then I don't respond to him for like a few hours. And then this week he goes, bump. He texts me, bump, so that I would see it again. And then is like, that's it. That's it. He don't send me flowers. He don't send me anything. He just says, bump.
He sends you beautiful content on the internet that you get to be a witness of.
I don't watch it. And honestly, everybody was pretty mean to me there. So I won't be back.
Damn.
All right. Well, speaking of like lining the fights. All right. So this one, I saw, I think maybe the opener. Okay. This is Alexander Soldatkin versus Mario Piazzon. I saw, what's his name? Soldatkin was like what, minus 650?
450.
But he opened bigger than that, right? Didn't he open
almost
like
positive he opened 450. But
I saw a minus 650 number on him sometime somewhere. Are you able to check that?
Yeah, it's 450.
Okay, I saw 650 somehow. Maybe it was in my tweets or something, and it like opened up with one of those fake numbers. Whatever it was, it almost made me throw up. I woke up in a panic. Like, this guy is minus 650. I'm just bullshitting because I didn't look at his tape until like an hour ago. But dude, to have this guy minus 650 over anybody or minus 450 over anybody is crazy to me. And this is kind of what I was saying with Tamars Vidal. Did you listen to the podcast last week? Do you ever listen to our podcast still?
I do. You said she sucks, and you're gonna forever plant your flag that she is fade material, and it worked out.
Yeah, Tamars Vidal. I like, so many people were like, no, this is the lock, dude. I had to unfollow that guy on Twitter because
was it Kyle?
Yeah, like the never hedge guy.
Dude,
he just says some of the most insane things, and I'm sure he's a nice guy, but sometimes he tries to like stir people up with the worst opinions I've ever seen in my life. And I don't know what side of the aisle he's playing, if he's actually just trying to be like a nice, smart guy, or he's trying to like piss people off, because he pissed me off. Like, some of the stuff he says is fucking bananas. And then this week he comes up with, Tamars Vidal is as close to a women's lock as you're ever going to see. And I'm looking at this guy like, the fuck are you talking about? Like if he would have said that over, what's the Knutson over Marnik Man? Like, he didn't say, oh, for the value. He just said the biggest lock. That's what he said. And I'm like, okay, if you're talking about Knutson over Marnik Man, no issue with that. Totally get it. Huge mismatch. But he was saying that about Tamars Vidal, who everything is shown on tape. She has bad cardio, bad striking, bad decision-making. Like, everything about her is horrible. She missed weight. She was being brought in as the B-side. So many things lined up against her. And you're still going to go, she's the biggest lock I've seen in a long time. It was just such a bizarre statement, and no hate to him, whatever. I feel no way about him. I just was tired of seeing that kind of stuff, and it still pops up in my follow you. And I feel the same way about Soldatkin, right? He's probably going to win here. I don't know. He could win here. Fine. But to have him lined as this big of a favorite over anybody when what he's shown you is pretty awful. I only watched the Sehic fight. What is it? Benjamin Sehic, who I also think is horrible, right? That guy's a jiu-jitsu guy. He's a big heavyweight that's going to come pull guard and dive on heel hooks. And like, he's bad too. This dude was so gassed from stopping one takedown and laying on top of him for the rest of the round. He was like, they had to like lift him up and put him in the chair. He was about to have cardiac arrest. Comes out the second round, does the same thing. And the only reason he wins is because they're both too tired to get up. And the dude goes, I'm hurt. And that's how he wins. The rest of his wins are by first round. Like, that seems like a horrible proposition to bet at minus 450. That just seems like it's irresponsible. It's like, I don't know. You're getting away from the style of gambling that you were doing, and I guess I am too. Like, these massive, massive, massive chalk favorites that add no value and just so much more risk. Like, even Malkoun. I didn't have Malkoun in shit last week, and not for anything more than like I had a gut feeling that it wasn't going to go good. And dude, called it on the podcast. I had zero reasoning of why Brundage was going to win. Zero. I was like, there's no path to victory for him, but I have a bad feeling about it. And somehow that's exactly how it worked out. This guy just has so many bad traits. Why would you put him in why would you parlay him, I guess? Because his cardio is so bad. And if he makes it outside of the first round against an unknown Brazilian, who the fuck knows what happens, right? Maybe that guy's been in the lab and everyone's just holding back his tape so they can get good lines. I don't know, like whatever the fuck. I don't know. Just for me, it's the value proposition is really horrible on this guy that's got such bad cardio and just a lot of bad things. Even if he's got, a decent spinning back kick and you got good hips for 10 seconds. Like, we don't know this Brazilian. There's not a lot of film on him. For me, I think Santino's right. Just the fight doesn't go the distance, I think is clear play because you're going to get this tough as nails Brazilian that will weather the storm and then knock him the fuck out. Or that dude's going to finish him early. So, I mean, I think that's the only play here. Honestly, I kind of want to take a shot on the little Brazilian. And I know it's a bad move too, but I want to take a shot on the Brazilian.
Yeah, so if you watch a couple of Soldatkin's other fights prior to Aris, he does look like a killer, but it's because he's on the juice. And Narco brought it up in one of the servers. He said it looks like Soldatkin's off the steroids. And I was looking at a couple pictures because I didn't go to his Instagram. I just kind of just taped this and moved on. But he does. He lost a lot of his like muscle he used to have. So maybe he's got to pass those USADA tests. And maybe that's also why he gassed out in the set kick fight. But yeah, that was bad, man. It was whoever got up first on the ground was going to be the one that won the fight.
Yeah, one of them was going to have an injury.
Yeah, and that's like, it's not even the first time he's been out of the first round. Well, that was 2020. He fought this Ulu guy and he went to decision, man. That was like nothing much happened there. It was a lot of just like the Ulu guy sucking. But Pisano, the issue with him is we don't have any tape. How I studied this fight, I literally just went to his Instagram page, scrolled all the way to the bottom, and then slowly made my way up to the top.
Dude, I kind of like his Instagram, if I'm being honest.
I mean, he tries to come off as a pretty boy. I find it kind of funny. But
hey, don't we all, man?
But his best attribute is he's Jilton Almeida's heavy bag in the gym. Trains with Jilton. We saw that Mora girl from the same gym. She got brought to the Contender Series like the second week of the season. She looked pretty good.
Yep.
She did her thing. And Pisano, I wrote in my notes, I think he's like a shittier version of Carlos Felipe. I think that's the best way to put it.
I like that comparison. Just watching his like pad work and stuff.
Well, maybe it's because I've seen them in the same room together. So maybe I think they train together as well. So maybe he's like a baby Felipe. But his fights, I mean, he's fighting cans. I wouldn't even say he's that good either, but I guess like if he has any lick of cardio, he can probably survive the storm. That's going to be the issue. Can he survive the early onslaught? Because when you look at Soldatkin, he in a lot of his first round knockouts, he just marches forward, throws bombs. Like he literally just throws bombs in his spin and heel kick or whatever the fuck you call it, and that's like his whole game. So if Piazzon maybe mix in a takedown, I've seen him go for takedowns, but his wrestling sucks. And he's probably going to have to. He's just going to have to survive early. That's the maybe clinch up, Just avoid the one punch KO in the first like 2 or 3 minutes. And I was talking to Narco about it. Round 2 and round 3 pops. Maybe not round 3. I don't know if it's going to make it that far. But round 2, maybe for the Brazilian, could be sneaky, especially if we're trying to exploit the Soldatkin cardio narrative. But it's minus 450 right now. I don't know where the line's gonna go. I'm not like passionate to make a bet on Piazzon just because he doesn't seem like he's the right guy to fade Soldatkin with. Worst case, it's like Soldatkin wins, gets a first round knockout, and we fade the fuck out of him in the UFC. That's probably
and that's probably what's going to happen, right? We come across this all the time. I think when we were first starting these contender series, right? Who was it that? Yes.
Ebo.
Okay, that you knew exactly what fight I was talking about. Our point is like, okay, Ebo, it has flaws. Like he's probably going to win here, but I think the other guy could do it based on a cardio narrative. And it's like we know that Soldatkin's probably going to win. He's probably going to win very impressively and probably in the first round. But I don't want to pay minus 450 to figure that out, you know, on something that's just such a glaring hole in his game.
I do want to play him though, just for the culture, man. Just throw like 100 or 200 on my boy Piazzon, man.
Oh, I'm saying, yeah, Piazzon, yes. On Soldatkin, not so much.
I wouldn't even touch a prop on him either. Like if round 1, even I wouldn't. I mean, that's probably his path to victory. If it's plus money on round 1, maybe I get it. But I just don't see the value. You're right. We've seen Contender Series big favorites fuck it up. I mean, you got Bruno Lopez last week.
Yeah,
it's big boys, man.
Like realistically, that is probably who's going to win. He's probably going to win in round 1. That's realistic. The other dude is kind of a fat can Brazilian, but like on the value play, I want to go the other direction. What's a couple $100 to just find out? You know what I mean? Fuck
it. Could be Carlos Felipe, man. Just has an iron chin and just bombs it out.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love that proposition. Maybe he's the Brazilian that I kept telling you everybody about. Like, hey, this is the secret one. This is the guy. All right. So that is going to take us, guys. Do we have anything else to add to that one?
He's going to get one punch KO'd now.
Yeah, easily. That's how it's going to go. All right. Next up, we have Danny Barlow versus Raheam Forrest. Why don't you do the honors and kick off the last one here for us?
Well, the last fight of the night is probably the hardest one to predict, man. It's a tough fight. Both these guys are actually from the Memphis. They train at different gyms, but I think Jaleel Willis has been in the corner of both these guys. So if anybody knows Jaleel Willis, hit him up. Ask him who's going to win. But I don't know, man. Do you? Because this is short notice. Because Barlow was supposed to fight Justin Burlinson, and then Burlinson pulled out, and then now Raheam Forrest is in. So I don't know if somebody knows something here because they're both from the same area. I would assume they've trained together. I mean, there's only so many MMA fighters in Memphis, and
both CFFC. Like, there's a lot of like cross pass here.
So it's an interesting
Trevor
fight.
Ollison, yeah.
Maybe hit up Trevor Ollison, man. That dude's so goofy. Definitely Raheam, man. Definitely Raheam. But it's an interesting fight. When you look at the odds, it's minus 132 for Barlow, plus 102 for Forrest. And I mean, I wrote in my notes, I think it should be like minus 140 Barlow. So, I mean, that's pretty accurate. So, I mean, it's just hard to get a read on this fight because you got Barlow. It's the longer guy. He's going to try to make it look pretty. That's his game. Kind of stay at range with the southpaw stance and kind of just pick apart at you from range with his like kicks and his 1-2. But the issue with him is like Barlow, he overswings a lot and his footwork's not the best. But I will say he looks like he's getting better. He's starting to figure out his game. And I guess it comes down to how smart Raheam Forrest wants to fight, because I got to pull up the fight. But there's this one fight where he could have easily won, but his fight IQ was absolutely ridiculously like annoying. I think it was – no, he did win. It was the Lubert's fight. Did you watch the Lubert's fight in CFFC?
Yeah,
he made that so much closer than it needed to be. It was like him going for arm bars, him jumping the back, and it's like some of the IQ decisions that he makes in the grappling especially, it's like very frustrating because you can tell he's a great wrestler, but he either, I don't know what it is, he just goes for the kill so hard that it's like he loses position. But I think if Forrest fights the smart game plan, he's probably going to go for the wrestling or just like stay in Barlow's face, because if he's going to stay at range in a striking match with Barlow, he's going to get picked apart. I don't know what the reach disadvantage is, but I would assume it's a decent amount because you just look at Barlow. He's got a big frame, and he does a good job using that. And Forrest, he's got to make it a dogfight. He's got to get in the pocket, try to hurt Barlow. But, I mean, Santino wrote it in his breakdown. If Forrest goes for the finish early, he might gas, I don't know what Forrest's cardio is. I wouldn't say it's awful because he did go 5 rounds in CFFC, but it's still up for debate. But I don't know. It's just such a hard fight to get a read on because both guys have a path to victory. You got Barlow, keep it pretty on the outside. Maybe like time Forrest on an entry and knock him out, but Forrest gotta make it dirty. So I guess the line's accurate. You gotta make Barlow the slight favorite just because he has more process to the game. It's like he has a better idea of what he's doing on the feet. Whereas Forrest, some fights he's just going for the one punch knockout. Some fights he's going heavy wrestling attack. It's just I don't know if I can trust Forrest to fight smart. While it is tempting to maybe play Forrest at dog odds, I think it's accurate. Santino said overs. I kind of agree with that as well. Actually, honestly, I don't even know, man. This is such a hard fight to predict that I wouldn't even be confident in the overs because you saw Forrest's last knockout, man, dude. Tristan Vines
Yeah.
or whatever his name is. He like hit like a 10-piece, 15-piece combination on him, and that dude was out cold. Forrest cracks, so
They
maybe
both crack. Honestly, they both have really good power and they both have really precise striking. So sometimes I don't understand why Santino says that. It's not like they're going to have a sparring match. Like Raheam is an idiot, and sometimes being dumb is good as a fighter, right? Because you just don't know better and you're just going to go all for it. And Santino's talked about this a lot, like Alexander Hernandez. The thing that made him great was when he was just an idiot and would just try to kill everybody, because sometimes he would kill everybody. And then when he started trying to be this really calculated, smooth fighter, now he's getting picked apart and he's getting beat up, and it's just not the same, right, as when he was a berserker. I want to share this too. His name hasn't come up in a while, but I feel like I should share him. We had such a good relationship last year, and I don't know what happened. We just don't talk much anymore, and I don't know. His Discord shut down, but MMA Wizard Sean Bitter. I love his stuff. I always have loved his stuff. I'm looking at his stuff for the first time because today I was chilling on my couch and I saw he's allowed to bet now. So he's kind of like listing some bets that he would have. So I'm pretty sure his Patreon's like $5. I've been paying for it for the last like 2 years, and I've looked at it.
Same here, man. Y'all gotta go give
times.
my man Bitter some love. I've actually every Contender series he does like these breakdowns for every single card. I always check them before I hop on this video. He's the
Okay. Yeah,
he's the
because
best
dude,
in the
his
game,
analysis is awesome. So for you guys, dude, like we're not weird about shit. Like, dude, if you were to start a Patreon, we'd be like, hey, go follow Pierce's Patreon. Like, we're not weird about stuff. Like, I'll be honest, some of the dudes in the space drive me insane. Like, all they care about is like what people think of them on Twitter, whatever. We have a really cool community. The way that we keep it cool is not being freaking annoying and crying about everything and we lost bet. Like, stop. We're here. We want to make some money. I think a lot of people have done really, really well. We're here to share the love. Like, I want to see everybody prosper except for Just Win Baby because he's a pussy. But yeah, Sean Bitter, MMA Wizard. It's like $5 a month, and he does phenomenal breakdowns. I should have been pumping it up because last year I actually asked him if he would do what you're doing, do it with me, and I think said like he just didn't want to be on camera, and it was just hard to coordinate times. But what I'm trying to get to is that he is allowed to start betting now. So he kind of put his stuff. So I'm going to share that maybe as a preview. I'll pay him back the royalties of like $1.50 for this, for this week. But
he's on Carli Judice money line, baby.
Yeah. So he got Carli Judice money line minus 200 for 3 units. And then he put Raheam Forrest money line at plus 135 for 4 units, which, it's kind of like
a lot for him. That's a lot for him.
That's a lot for him. Four units on Raheam is a lot for him. And this fight reminds me of a fight that just happened. Do you know which one I would be talking about?
Like Contender series?
Yeah.
No, you putting me on the spot unless you want to give me a hint. Test my knowledge.
I mean, their bodies are exactly the same. Honestly, their skill sets are pretty similar too.
Just say it.
Allen versus Jacoby.
Yes. That's a lot. Can you
kind of see the resemblance? No, it's a little bit the same.
All right, because they're both black. Is that what you're insinuating?
Yes, that's exactly what I meant. No, but if you look at it, right? What's the dude's name? Griffin? No, Barlow. Danny
Barlow. Yeah, Griffin.
So Griffin.
You thinking of Griffin Period still, man?
He's still on my mind. No, Danny Barlow, his body reminds me of Daniel James Allen. Like the way that he moves, he's like smooth and athletic, and he moves really, really well, but his punches are really straight and they're really stiff. He's got good power and good accuracy. Like you're right. He's not kill shotting guys just one and done, but he's kind of more of attrition, but his hands are clean. He looks to make all the right decisions. He's taller than Raheam. Like, I like a lot of his game. Going into that, because actually the first thing that I saw for that fight was Sean Bitter going 4 units on Raheam. And I know Raheam pretty well, right? We bet on him almost every fight in CFFC. So I know Raheam pretty well. I went, oh, Danny Barlow must be just a complete fraud, right? He must be a complete fraud if Sean's going to go the other way. Raheam makes a lot of bad decisions. Raheam doesn't have the best gas tank. He's a little short. I literally think like it comes down to this. If Raheam can get his grappling going, he's got more ways to win. He's got a more complete game. But we have a lot of question marks about Barlow's grappling. Like, we don't really know. Is he a guy that's going to play guard? Is he going to stay there for full rounds at a time?
If you go back early in his career, not like his recent fights, he did get taken down actually a decent amount. So that's probably where Bitter's coming with the 4-unit bet, is the takedown defense. I've seen it not exposed. He seems like he does a decent job getting up. I believe someone told me said he was a college All-American wrestler. I don't fucking believe that at all.
Okay.
But
here's the thing. Wrestling in MMA is so different than wrestling in college. And like, I don't know how much I can share, but Santino, right? Santino's like 60 years old. Okay. Santino's broken every part of his body. I have seen Santino take down Olympic gold medalists, college All-Americans, national champions. He drags down everybody. And Santino was like a shitty college wrestler, right? It had nothing to do with anything. It's just like MMA wrestling is just so different. And honestly, just the threat of hands, right? You pretend like you're going to hit somebody, and then you change your level and you blast. Anybody can get taken down. Anybody, period. So, I mean, it's possible, but I think they would probably tout that and say that a lot more if that was the case. But honestly, at the end of the day, like, I like what I've seen from Barlow. I think this is better as a live bet, but I would take a little Barlow early. I like his hands. I like his body. I like a lot about his game. And most of all, I don't like Raheem's fight IQ, anything that he does. He's like so talented, and he's just such a cannonball berserker. But I think I like Danny Barlow, at least what I've seen from him on tape. Now, this could end up being the worst bet in the world, and he gets ragdolled for 3 rounds. Possible. You get dropped and knocked out in the first round. Possible. But just what the available tape shows me, I think I like Danny Barlow here.
Yeah, dude. I think it's going to be a fun fight. I love the matchup here. I think both guys are fringe UFC level, and I think it's a very competitive matchup. Good fight to end the night. But speaking of Daniel Allen, dude, I felt gutted that he didn't get a contract, man. You fight the best performance of the whole card, and you don't get a contract, but Luciano does? It's ridiculous.
Against the best guy.
Literally. They were just mad that Dana didn't get their LFA darling in the UFC because Allen was brought in to lose, man. But hopefully we see him in the UFC because he's going to be a cash cow down the line. He looked amazing.
Dude, and you know what? He's just a great example of like doing less. Like, he doesn't do anything crazy. He's just solid fundamentals. He can counter wrestle well. He keeps range really well, puts volume. He's like such a great fighter. He's going to be awesome, man. I honestly hope he doesn't go to the UFC for a while so we can just keep throwing fucking crazy money on him on regionals.
Dude, they're just going to throw him on UWC and we can't even bet on it.
I'm sure we could find a way. Let's take a trip to Mexico, my friend. That's just right down the street.
Yeah, no, for you, not for me.
All right, guys. Well, Pierce, thank you so much, man. I know it's super late for you, and I was a little more chatty. Dude, we almost did an hour on this one.
Hey, that's good, man. We had since we didn't do one last week, gotta make up the time somehow.
Guys, this week, I think we're going to have a special guest. So there's no UFC podcast this week, obviously, because there's no UFC. Thank God. But I think we're going to just do like a special one-off interview with a special guest that's coming to town. So look out for that. Very strange accent. So if you guys can understand her, it will be a good podcast.
Oh, I wonder who it's going to be.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Pierce, appreciate you, brother. That's what I was trying to say. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Have a good night.